something that conservatives across the board are upset about. I don't think it's a surprise that the president leaned into it. I agree with your assessment. This is not something that he had previously thought about in terms of trying to get the FBI to look at their policies or review them because of the way he answered. But I'm not, I actually thought that what he said about Stone was pretty restrained, given the fact that Stone is seen as a potential pressure point for the Mueller investigation, given his duration with the president.
It's interesting. I will say the president went out of his way to say people who know Roger say he's not the type of guy that would do this. The FBI in the Mueller team says he's exactly the kind of guy that would destroy evidence. He's the kind of guy they say they have charged him with obstructing justice, with lying in an investigation, with tampering with other witnesses here. So it's exactly the kind of thing they were concerned about.
Right. I mean, I think they're at the end of the day, what they are concerned about is a firearm. Roger Stone had said he doesn't have a firearm and that he has an expired passport. I have no way of knowing whether that's the case, but it doesn't seem as if they turned up a firearm just based on what we have heard. I think it is not a surprise. Look, I think that Roger Stone egged on the Mueller team over a very long period of time. He was seen by a lot of people, even his friends, as making himself a target. However, a lot of his friends also believe that there was an excessive display of force that we saw there, just given that you're dealing with, I think, a 66-year-old man and his wife is roughly 70.
Although he did go on to say afterwards that they were extremely courteous, the FBI agents. And I should point out, too, a number of our own CNN law enforcement folks who are, former FBI special agents and what have you, have said, listen, let me lay it out for you. Here's what's normal in what we see here.
Well,
and we will hear more of that, right? If we ultimately do hear from them, Lindsey Graham asking. The other thing that's fascinating is that we haven't seen the president. Today will be day 6 that he has no public events. He's been tweeting, as we know. A lot of those tweets yesterday morning aimed squarely at intelligence folks after the threat assessment was given on Tuesday. And Dan Coats, we're told he's seething specifically at Dan Coats, which is not all that surprising to you.
No, look, I think that it's always important to remember context in terms of what people have said about the president previously when he gets upset. So remember, there was that Aspen Institute event. I think it was 2017. They all feel like one big long year right now.
Yes, they do.
We're in 2019, just for anyone who's keeping track. But he was asked a question about the president inviting Vladimir Putin to the White House, which Coates had not been aware of until he was asked it on stage. And I think he did say that again, and then he said, that'll be interesting. And he looked into the crowd for his laugh, and he was given his laugh. And there are very few things that make this president as angry as the perception that people are laughing at him. And I think he thought that Coates was playing to the anti-Trump crowd in that room. So it is not a surprise, to me anyway, that he is who the president would single out. But I do think that you are seeing repeatedly, the intelligence chiefs in this country separating from the president on where the president either wants things to be or sees things. The intel community is not always right, obviously, but I think that members of them consider some of what the president is doing to be dangerous in terms of his language about North Korea, in terms of telling the public about a potential threat. And I think that's at least some of why you're seeing what you're seeing. But I think no matter how nuanced it is delivered, and remember, this is testimony before Congress, so it needs to be truthful, the president is going to hear it as a slap back at him.
It's testimony before